Hey guys, like here, part 3 of the sauna build. As you see, we got everything framed out now, so if you want to see how to do the walls and the whole framing structure so on, check the previous video. I'll put a link below, or just follow my channel and subscribe and check it all out. But anyway, in this video, we're going to start doing the roof. We're going to start with installing the roof rafters. We're going to measure them out, space them out and all that. We're also going to put up the big beams here, these big guys at the end here, that are going to stand up here and go across, so we can run the roof all the way over the gazebo to the end of the sauna. And if you haven't been following, this is a sauna / gazebo build, one big structure. So let me show you guys what you need, and let's get started. So for putting up roof rafters, you typically need 2x6 beams, and I got my stuff freshly cut from a sawmill, so I actually have true 2x6, meaning it's 2 inches thick and 6 inches wide. I just got to cut the correct length, as they just give you extra length. You know, it's not perfectly cut to size, which is fine because you technically get more wood. So we're gonna need probably a dozen or so more of these. We're probably gonna space them out 18 or 24 inches apart, not like we did the studs here at 16 on center, as it's not really necessary for a roof, especially on a sauna build. So we're gonna measure out how, because we have a slant here. If you watch my previous videos, we're about a foot higher in the front and a foot lower in the back from there. So you got a nice little slant for the rain. And we first got to just put up these big beams here in the corners and run these 4x4s across, so we can do the whole roof all in one shot from end to end here. So we're gonna start with putting these up, and then I'll show you guys how to put up the rafters, cut them and all that. These are my corner beams that will sit at the end of the gazebo structure here, and those are true 6x6, and those are true 4x4 that are gonna run from the sauna. See, I pre-cut it to match the 2x4. All the cuts I already showed in the previous video, so check that out for that. I figured that out, but basically these cutout stumps will sit here, so we can have this sitting on top of the block here, as well as this. Maybe throw some construction adhesive, some nice bolts. And then we're gonna run these 4x4s on top of it, and another one across from end to end. So I just gotta cut these to height to match this, front and back, and then we can put it up. Alrighty, so we got this beam cut to be the same height as this one. Now I just want to do a test fit before we start installing anything. Alright, so I got my man Alex helping me here. What's up? Got my beam here. We are level. That's what we want. I just want to see how this looks. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. Now we gotta do something with the back, and then we can put it all up. So decided to get a little crazy, and I'm gonna drop the cross beam between the two big beams inside them. So this shorter one will go like that. The longer one, I'm gonna drill a hole in the middle. So it took some time to get these holes done, but I think it's gonna be worth it in the final result. Let's put this thing up. Guys, here we go. I'm gonna put up the big beams. Got the holes ready. My gonna drop a little bit of liquid nails in here. Same over here. I'm gonna bolt that down. Maybe a little bit of liquid nails in there too. And these beams with the cut out 2x4 ends will sit right here. And then same over here. So let's get it done. Alright guys, I'm gonna start with the front beam. Put this one on, then work our way to the back. I'm gonna do a little bit of liquid nails here. I'm gonna put a couple of bolts just so it's keeping it in place, but then we're gonna bolt it. So I'm not securing the top yet. Screw in there to hold it in place for now. Same idea on the back. Measure the distance at the bottom so we know where to be up top. Give you guys a quick close-up where we at right now. So the glue's doing its job. This This looks freaking awesome over here. Just gotta nail all that down there still. Put this one up. But before I put this one up, gotta even these out. I went a little too deep. So we'll fix that. And then we'll drop that beam right on top of it. But yeah, there we go. Actually, this was just like a 1/4 inch too high. So just trimmed it off. And now we're ready to mount the top beam. So for some extra bottom support, nice galvanized bolts. And I'll put one there, and same on the other end. Alright guys, so before I start showing you how to cut the rafters, so you can line them up in the front and the back, we have to measure our 16 or 24 inch center for the rafter beams where they're going to sit on both sides, front and the back of our shed sauna build. The walls we did 16 on center. You can do your roof 16 on center, but that's honestly overkill. Nobody's walking on that roof. There's not really going to be nothing heavy on it. Plus, I'm using true 2x6 beams for the rafters, so they're even thicker and more support than a standard 2x6, which will only be 1.5 by 5.5. So we're going to go 24 on center, and I'm quickly going to show you guys how to measure that out. If you want to see 60 on center, I have a link below. Just a quick video for that, but the idea is the same. We're just doing 24. And the reason you're doing 16 or 24 is so you have the even spacing for the standard cuts of 2 feet, 4 feet, 8 feet for sheetrock, for plywood, and so on. So let's get it done. So let's pretend those are the 2x4s up top of our walls. And we're going to start with the end. This is where our first rafter is going to sit. And now we are going 24 on center. So basically, find the 24 mark. Remember, on center means that where the 2x4 sits. So if you're doing 16 on center, you want the center of the 16 be the center of your 2x4 at the 16 inch mark. So if you have a standard 1.5 inch wide 2x4, that means you want to be at 15.25, which is 0.75 inches from each side of the center. So since we're going 24, we are going 23.25. Put an X here, and now we go next. So after 24 is 48. So 48 will be 47.25. Same idea. Put an X. X means that's where your stud is going to sit. After 48, we go 72. So we will be 71.25, and so on. Once you do that, all the way through, which I think I went all the way up to like 264 mark up top because I have a 20 foot wide structure. You just want to make your lines so you know exactly where the stud has to sit, nice and even. And just go all the way across. And you want to do that on both sides. I'll show you guys exactly how I did up top right now. Let's do a little close up for you guys first. So 24 in center will be 23.25. And then the center of the stud will be right here, because the stud will sit from here all the way to here. 48, 47.25. 72 is 71.25. 96 will be 95.25. But as I mentioned, I am doing actual 2-inch studs, right? So for me, center is actually a full inch to the left or right of the center of the beam. So instead of, in my case, 23.25, I'm just going at the 23 mark. But I don't want to confuse you guys, as most people will be doing standard lumber, which will be 1.5 inch wide 2x4. So my center is the 24 inch mark, but I'm making my mark a full inch to the left. So between 23 and 25, 24 is in the middle. Let me show you the top. So we already measured our high wall, and now we did the back wall. We started from this end here. First rafter is going right there. Then 24-inch mark is right here. But we're also going to be putting one here later. But those I just added on. For now, I just did the spacing. So 24 all the way to the end. So basically, you put them at a 24, 48, 72, 96, 120, 144, 168, 192, 216, 240, and 264. And that covered the 20 foot or so width of our build. And that's it. Now we know how to line them up front and back. Now I can show you guys how to cut the rafters. So you got the nice little sitting groove here. So your structure basically doesn't come apart. Here's a quick peek at one I already did. That's where you want to be. And then the back. So now we're gonna do this one right here. All right, so first you're gonna measure your rafters, the distance you want it to stick out on each end, and then place on each end on your 16, 24 and center line, so you know exactly where you want to be. Once you do that, all you grabbing is your square, or like I said, you can take a plank of plywood. I'm doing a square because I actually want to have a thick, wider cut. Technically, you only cut in, the board should be as thick as this space you have here, right? So, but that will give me a little indent, and I want to go bigger as I'm using true 2x6s here. So we'll grab our square, put it against the wall right here, just making a line. Now we're going like this, same idea. And that's it. This is going to be a bird's cut in the back, and now we're going to go to the front. Now with the top, same idea, line this up. And now we can go cut. Alright, so we'll cut the first one. When you cut all the way from here, make sure you lift your guide here and start with the line so you get a clean cut, because otherwise you'll be going all over. That's one. Let's cut the other and we can test it up. All right, let's put it up. Also, another thing to save you time, once you cut your first one, test it out, make sure it's a good fit. You can technically lay it on top of next one, just measure out the lines and cut them right there. You don't have to go one by one like this. So it's a little time saver too. Let's check the back. Okay. So slide it all the way in. Nice flush here. Now let's check the front. And look at that. Perfect flush. We are all set, guys. So to get level flat ends on all your beams, measure the first one, last one, run a line across, and then to cut them off level, one trick is just get your level while you have them all up, line it all up, and just make your line, and then just cut them all off. That's one way. And the huge time saver, once you have your first one cut and tested out, just lay it on top of a new one, trace here, trace your ends already if you did, and then remove and just cut. And we'll do one by ones. And for the rafters that are going to be exposed in the gazebo, I'm giving them a burnt look like I'm doing with the walls. Alrighty, roof rafters are cut, settled into place. I put them in their marked lines. Now we're gonna mount them. So you can screw them down, nail them down. I'm gonna use some storm fasteners as well, or whatever they're called. And yeah, let's get up there and secure them. So I'm using nails for the rafters. Just make sure you line it up. Push this end so it's touching the beam, and that way you have the walls equally apart, and just hit it with 2 nails from each side. And you can add screws, stuff like that as well, but we're also going to secure with storm brackets as well. So I'll keep going with the back, then I'll move on to the front. All our rafters now, in addition to the nails we did, we're also going to do the hurricane ties. This is one design. This is the one that will fit my beams, as I have 2-inch wide beams. You can also use the one that is both two-sided and hangs in it, but it won't fit in my case. So that's what it looks like. Very simple install. Just make sure you install it. But this is above the bottom of the rafter, as you see on Globee here. You don't want that in the way. I'm gonna get done the back, the front, and then we can start putting down the roof. Do 1 nail on each, so you have it lined up, and then you just go to town on the rest. And that's it. So before you start dropping the roof, I recommend cutting out these spacers between the rafters, as it's going to make your life a lot easier to do it now before the roof is on. In my rafters case, the main regular spacing is 22 inches beams, but remember these rafters sunk in, so you're going to have to measure the height here, which is about 5 inches for me. So I cut these down to 5 inches wide. And then wherever it was still sticking out a little bit, because this is rough cut wood, so it's not perfectly even, I just hit it right with the plane right on top of it to give it a nice even finish here. So I'm gonna do this all the way front and back. That way the inside is not exposed. And there we go. Spacers installed in the front. Obviously not the gazebo section. And then in the back, and we also got our storm brackets as well for the extra safety. Roof is next, I think. Let's go. All right, time to lay out the roof. And for today, we got nice thick plywood. I would say about 3/4 thick. Over 1/2 inch, definitely. I forgot. I'll put a link to it below. It was about 40 bucks a sheet. Don't go with the cheap stuff. Don't go with the cheap stuff if you're doing a sauna. If it's a shed, it's fine. OSB, I'm not doing either because it's a sauna build. I need this to be heavy duty. I need this to last. So we're gonna throw those up there. Start installing. And I'll show you guys what I'm gonna do because I'm only doing plywood on the inside where the room is. All this outside stuff here is I'm gonna go with the 1 inch 12 wide inch boards with a shiplap overlap just to give it a nice look. And for the front and back board here, I went with the 1 inch actual true 1 inch beam as I didn't have any of the 2s anymore. Well, that's pretty thick. That should work just fine. But normally you will go with the same beams you're using for your rafters. All right, roof next. Just a quick peek again, guys, to show you what we measure on center. 16 and 24 in this case for the roof. As you see, the edge wall is flush. We got an 8-foot sheet of plywood, and we end up right in the middle of our 8-foot mark beam here. And now we can put a second sheet of plywood right next to it. Nice secure connection. Also, I'm overlapping halfway on these, and then over here I'm going to do the 12-inch board, the pine that I have instead of plywood, just so it looks nicer from on the outside. I'm going to put these up using 2.5 inch screws. So let me get this done and we can move on. Use a chalk line, mark the lines where we put the screws on the rafters, or you can just take a level, 4-foot level, just make your lines like that. Since we're not going all the way to the end, because I'm going to be using the pine boards for the gazebo roof, gotta cut the plywood sheets short over here. So that's what we'll do. Plywood done. Now we move on to the pine boards. So for these boards, I want to do shiplap edge so they overlap each other. That way we have a good connection, even though it is going to be covered with the roof shingles and stuff. So I'm going to use a router kit to make that happen. Got this scale one under 200 bucks, and this is the table and the router. Make sure you get that deal. So I'll probably do a separate video how to use this guy. But for now, I'm going to set it up and get this going. So got my gazebo boards cut and shiplapped, and now the burn side's gonna go facing the bottom, and I'm gonna start from the top and just drop them on top of each other. Use these grooves for nice connection. Put 2-3 screws per board and work my way down. And that's basically it. As you're putting them down, quick tip, make yourself a mark for the rafters so you know exactly where your screws gotta go. We'll just keep going, putting this on top of each other, nice and flush with the plywood there, and then we'll cover everything with one row, shingles and so on. Alright guys, our roof is all set. Like I mentioned, plywood where I'm going to have installation, in the sauna room and the changing room. And then anything exposed under is the 1-inch pine boards. So it's the edges of the roof and then the whole gazebo section here. So now, we can start covering the roof. We're doing shingles right there. So we're going to cover paper, do the edging, then do the shingles. I'll give you guys a brief peek of that process here, but I'm going to do a separate video on how to do that exactly, so I don't waste time here. Stay tuned. There you go, guys. Here's the roof. Check out the video I made how to do the shingles if you're not familiar. Simple process, and as you see, it gives you guys great results. So that's about it for this part, guys. We got the roof done. The gazebo is basically 90% done at this point. One more board down here. We'll do that at the end. Inside looks awesome. Just gotta do some finishing touches. Still gotta seal all this. And then soon we'll move into the inside. Next part, we're gonna start covering the outside walls. And depending on how long that takes, maybe we'll move on to the inside too. And almost getting there, guys. Please stay tuned. Follow the channel. Follow the playlist for this build. And check out all my other videos. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching.